Something extraordinary is happening at the Cincinnati Open, and for once, the biggest story has almost nothing to do with the scoreboard. It is happening in the stands. It is happening outside the stadium. It is happening online, in fan communities, and across the massive Filipino diaspora that has followed Alex Eala from one tournament to the next. ESPN has now put into words what tennis fans have been watching unfold all summer. Alex Eala has become one of Cincinnati's biggest crowd magnets, and Filipino supporters have transformed her matches into something that feels completely different from a traditional tennis event. A 21-year-old Filipina hasn't simply arrived in Ohio to compete. She has arrived with an entire community behind her. Philippine flags have filled sections of the stadium. Fans have traveled hundreds of miles. College friends have planned reunions around her matches. One supporter reportedly drove 8 hours after watching her in Toronto just to see her play again in Cincinnati. And the most remarkable part? Many of these fans aren't longtime tennis spectators. Some are discovering the sport because of Alex Eala. That is what makes the phenomenon so important. This is no longer simply a story about one young player climbing the rankings. It is a story about what happens when an athlete becomes a cultural connection for millions of people around the world. And now ESPN has recognized it. The Eala effect has officially arrived in Cincinnati. ESPN puts the Eala effect in the spotlight. ESPN has been following Alex Eala's rise throughout the season, but its Cincinnati coverage highlighted something bigger than another tournament result. The network emphasized that Eala's importance extends beyond what she does with a tennis racket. Her growing popularity could have an impact on an entirely new generation of Filipino tennis players and fans. That distinction is crucial. In professional tennis, success is traditionally measured through rankings, titles, Grand Slam results, prize money, and statistics. But Alex Eala is creating another measurement: crowd power. Her matches generate attention before she even walks onto the court. Fans monitor the schedule. They search for tickets. They travel. They organize groups. They bring flags. They create chants. They invent jokes and terminology around her game. And then they turn the stadium into something resembling a basketball arena rather than a traditional tennis venue. That transformation has been happening across the North American hardcourt swing. Washington saw it. Toronto saw it. Now Cincinnati is seeing it. ESPN's coverage simply confirmed what tournament organizers, players, commentators, and fans have already experienced firsthand. Alex Eala is not merely another young player on the WTA Tour. She has become an event within the event. Cincinnati was supposed to be about tennis on paper. Cincinnati was already a major tournament. The Lindner Family Tennis Center is one of the most recognizable tennis venues in the United States, and the Cincinnati Open has attracted some of the greatest names in the history of the sport. Legends such as Roger Federer, Rafael Nadal, and Serena Williams have competed on these courts. The tournament has a massive history. It also has a massive investment behind it. The recently transformed facility represents a reported $260 million investment, creating a modern tennis campus designed to attract more fans and establish Cincinnati as one of the premier events on the calendar. But nobody could have predicted how dramatically one player would alter the atmosphere. Then Alex Eala arrived. She entered Cincinnati as the number 17 seed, the highest seeding of her career at a WTA 1000 event. She also brought momentum. Her North American hardcourt record had become one of the most impressive stories of the summer. She had captured her breakthrough WTA singles title in Washington. She had reached the round of 16 in Toronto. She had defeated established stars. And everywhere she went, the fans followed. Cincinnati was next. And suddenly, the tournament wasn't simply promoting another WTA 1000 event. It was preparing for Eala Mania. The stories behind the fans are even more incredible. The numbers tell one part of the story. The people tell the other. Sports reporter Colin Salo shared stories from Cincinnati that perfectly demonstrate just how powerful the Eala phenomenon has become. One group of college friends, now living in different parts of the United States, planned their reunion around Alex Eala. Think about that for a moment. These people could have chosen a beach vacation. They could have chosen a major city. They could have met somewhere halfway between their homes. Instead, they chose Cincinnati.
Why?
Because Alex Eala was playing. Their reunion became a tennis trip. Their shared memory became an Alex Eala match. And that tells you something about how athletes become cultural icons. The second story was even more striking. One fan watched Eala compete at the National Bank Open in Toronto. Then, instead of going home, the supporter got in the car and drove approximately 8 hours to Cincinnati. 8 hours. Not 8 minutes. Not a short train ride. 8 hours on the road. All for another opportunity to watch Alex Eala play. That is not ordinary tournament attendance. That is personal investment. It is emotional investment. And that is exactly what makes the Eala effect different. The dinosaur fan became part of the story, then there is the fan who became a viral sensation. During the Canadian Open, one particularly enthusiastic supporter appeared in an inflatable blue dinosaur costume with a Philippine flag draped over the outfit. He danced. He celebrated. He shook the costume. He leaned over the railing. He turned the stands into his own personal celebration. And Alex Eala noticed. Rather than being annoyed by the unusual display, she loved it. She later described the supporter as a perfect fan. That moment perfectly represents what has happened around Eala. The supporters aren't simply sitting quietly and applauding between points. They have developed their own culture. They bring creativity. They bring humor. They bring Filipino traditions. And they bring an energy that is immediately recognizable. The dinosaur fan became part of the Eala story. And there is something important about that. Fans don't simply want to watch Alex. They want to participate in the experience. They want to be part of the moment. They want their children to remember being there. They want photographs. They want videos. They want to wave the flag. They want to tell their friends that they were there when the Filipina star played. That is how a fan base becomes a movement. Filipino fans are even creating their own tennis language. The Eala phenomenon has become so culturally specific that Filipino supporters have started creating their own vocabulary around her tennis. One example is the playful term surrounding her serve. Eala's service motion has sometimes been described as unconventional. Instead of treating that as a weakness, her supporters turned it into humor. They created their own nickname for the serve and embraced the unusual motion as part of what makes Alex unique. That is a powerful transformation. Something that could have been criticized becomes something fans celebrate. It becomes an inside joke. It becomes part of the identity surrounding the player. And it shows just how deeply supporters have connected with Eala. They aren't simply watching her technique. They're studying it, discussing it, joking about it, and turning it into part of their shared culture. Even the unusual scheduling of tennis matches has become part of the experience. Because many of Eala's supporters are watching from the Philippines, her matches can take place at extremely inconvenient hours. But fans stay awake anyway. They set alarms. They gather with friends. They watch together. They post online. They celebrate every point. For many, sleep can wait. Alex Eala is playing. Even other players have noticed the atmosphere. The reaction isn't limited to fans and journalists. Other players have noticed what happens when Eala walks onto a tennis court. Former doubles world number 1 Rennie Stubbs has discussed the unique atmosphere surrounding Eala's matches. Stubbs acknowledged that some fans are still relatively new to tennis and therefore don't always follow traditional tennis etiquette. Sometimes they cheer at unexpected moments. Sometimes the noise continues during points. Sometimes the crowd behaves more like a basketball audience. But Stubbs did not simply criticize that behavior. Instead, she emphasized the excitement. She recognized what it means for tennis to suddenly attract people who may never have watched a professional match before. That is the important part. Every sport wants new fans. Tennis is no different. If Alex Eala can bring people into the stadium who previously had no connection with professional tennis, that is potentially transformative for the entire sport. Stubbs even compared the atmosphere surrounding Eala to the extraordinary crowds that Serena Williams used to generate in New York. That is an enormous comparison. Serena didn't simply play matches. She created events. People bought tickets because Serena was playing. People who weren't necessarily obsessed with tennis wanted to experience the atmosphere. Eala is beginning to create a similar phenomenon within the Filipino community. And that is why opponents have to prepare for more than just her forehand and backhand. They have to prepare for the crowd. Amanda Anisimova knew exactly what was coming. Then came the matchup that made the Cincinnati story even bigger. Alex Eala was preparing to face Amanda Anisimova. The American star was ranked inside the world's top 10 and entered the match with a resume that demanded respect. Anisimova had already reached Grand Slam finals. She had won major WTA 1000 titles. She had established herself as one of the most dangerous players on tour. On paper, this was a major test for Eala. But Anisimova knew something else was waiting for her. The crowd. She only acknowledged Eala's extraordinary fan base before the match. Anisimova said she expected a packed stadium and described the atmosphere as something she was looking forward to experiencing. That reaction was revealing. She wasn't complaining about playing in front of an opponent's supporters. She embraced it. She understood that this was part of the spectacle. She even referenced the comparison to a basketball atmosphere. And that is exactly what Eala has created. Her opponents know that when they play her, they may not have the majority of the crowd behind them. They may be playing in front of thousands of people who have traveled specifically to support the Filipina. That creates an entirely different psychological environment. Anisimova said she loved packed stadiums. She said she loved good atmospheres. And she planned to use the energy rather than fight against it. But the very fact that she had to discuss the crowd before the match demonstrated how unusual the Eala phenomenon had become. Eala's results are only part of the story, of course. None of this would exist without the tennis. That is something Alex Eala herself understands. The attention may be enormous, but she knows it has been earned through years of work. Her rise has been remarkable. She became the first Filipino player to win a junior Grand Slam singles title. She broke through at the Miami Open with a stunning run that announced her arrival to the wider tennis world. She defeated established stars. She continued improving. She captured her first WTA singles title. And then she carried that momentum into the North American hardcourt season. Her victories against elite opponents demonstrated that the attention wasn't simply based on nationality. She was beating top players. She was competing with established stars. She was proving that she belonged. That distinction matters. A fan base can create attention, but only performance can sustain it. And Eala has repeatedly demonstrated that she can perform under pressure. That is why the story has become so powerful. The fans are coming because they love Alex, but Alex is giving them reasons to keep coming back. Jessica Pegula understands the phenomenon. Jessica Pegula experienced the Eala effect firsthand. When Pegula faced Eala during her breakthrough period, she reportedly found herself surrounded by an unexpectedly pro-Eala crowd. The reaction was almost disbelief. Where had all these fans come from? That question has been asked repeatedly by players throughout the tour. Where did they come from? The answer is simple. They came from everywhere. They are Filipino Americans. They are overseas Filipino workers. They are families. They are students. They are longtime tennis fans. They are people discovering tennis for the first time. And they are all connected by one player, Alex Eala. Pegula has also acknowledged the broader impact Eala can have on the WTA. And that is perhaps the most important aspect of the entire story. Because professional tennis needs stars who can connect with audiences beyond traditional tennis markets. Eala has the potential to do exactly that. The Filipino diaspora has found a sporting symbol to understand the Eala effect. You have to understand the Filipino diaspora. Millions of Filipinos live outside the Philippines. They work abroad. They build families abroad. They create communities abroad. They maintain deep emotional connections with their homeland. For many of them, Alex Eala represents something larger than tennis. She represents achievement. She represents possibility. She represents Filipino excellence on a global stage. When Philippine flags fill a stadium in Cincinnati, those flags are communicating something. They're saying, "We are here." When fans travel 8 hours to watch her play, they are saying, "She matters to us." When supporters stay awake until the early morning to watch a match from the Philippines, they are saying, "We will be there." And when Eala responds in Filipino, she sends a message back, "I see you." That reciprocal relationship is incredibly powerful. It is not simply athlete and spectator. It is community and representative. Coco Gauff sees the bigger picture. Coco Gauff has also recognized what Eala's popularity could mean for tennis. The American superstar has welcomed the fact that Eala is bringing an entirely new demographic toward the WTA. That may ultimately be Eala's biggest contribution to the sport. Not another title, not another ranking milestone, but new fans. Imagine a young Filipino child watching Alex Eala compete and deciding to pick up a tennis racket. Imagine a family that had never attended a professional tennis match buying tickets for the first time. Imagine Filipino communities across the United States building local tennis programs because their national sporting hero made the sport feel relevant. That is how athletes create legacies. Not simply through trophies, through participation, through inspiration, through the people who come after them. The Eala effect is bigger than Cincinnati. Cincinnati is only the latest chapter. The phenomenon has already appeared in Miami. It appeared in Indian Wells. It exploded in Toronto. It became impossible to ignore in Washington. And now Cincinnati has become another example. The pattern is consistent. Eala enters. Filipino fans mobilize. Ticket demand rises. The atmosphere changes. The media notices. Players notice. And the tournament suddenly has something it cannot manufacture through advertising alone. Authentic passion. That is incredibly valuable. You can spend millions promoting a tournament. You can build spectacular stadiums. You can sign major sponsors. But you cannot easily manufacture a fan base willing to drive 8 hours to watch one player. You cannot manufacture a community